Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we have a little, we probably should explain. Normally we have our Summer Slaycation where we have 4 franchises. We came upon a snag that doesn't happen very often, especially in this day and age because of so many things streaming. But the franchise we were planned to do was going to be the Wreck franchise. Now, I happen to have it on Blu-ray, but problem is it's not like I can just walk down the street and loan Tim my Blu-rays when I'm done. He's across the country. So basically, we looked to streaming and it was not even available to rent.
3 and 4 were not even available to rent. And then I started reading that 4 maybe wasn't even true found footage. I think they had gone away from the format. So we were like, I was telling Brian, I was like, do we really want to do this one? Because this is going to be a pain in the butt. I don't know. We went back and forth, and finally Brian came up with a great idea, I think, to, why don't we just, instead of doing one big franchise of 4 movies, let's just do 2 mini franchises and get another franchise in. I mean, that's more the merrier. And so we decided to do the Unfriended series, which I thought I had seen the first one, and I had not.
Same with me. I don't know what I saw that I thought was Unfriended, and I've literally owned this movie on Blu-ray and in digital, and yet I've not seen it. And when everyone was bringing up that, like, oh, Host just ripped off Unfriended, I'm like, no, it didn't really. And and I still don't think it ripped them off. And we'll get to that little comparison. But I know why they compared to it, but I don't know what I saw that I thought was Unfriended. But when I went to watch it, I'm like, oh my God, I actually never saw this. I never saw this.
I know. I watched it. I was like, well, I went on Letterboxd because usually I can rely on Letterboxd. Letterboxd said I had never watched it. So I was like, I bet you I watched it. And I just didn't log it in Letterboxd. And nope, I had never seen this. Now, I did see Unfriended Dark Web, and Letterboxd told me I had seen it.
Yeah.
So I knew I had seen it.
I hadn't seen it either, which is great. But
I had completely forgotten. I had no clue what it was about. It was going in like completely blind because I had not seen it since 2018. So that was, for all intents and purposes, it was like seeing both movies for the first time for me as well. So this one is definitely going to be a shorter episode because I don't know how much we can talk about these movies.
Yeah, well, especially because the plot has been done a million times. We have seen movies that are similar to this. We've seen it without the found footage angle. We've seen it with, that's the problem. The first one is very Blumhousey plot point.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of thing, so.
We'll go ahead and go through the housekeeping on this one. So Unfriended came out in 2014, directed by Levin Gabriadze. It stars Heather Sussman as Laura, Matthew Borer as Matt, Courtney Halverson as Val, Shelley Henning as Blair.
Which, by the way, real quick, I did not recognize her at first. I said, boy, this one looks familiar. And it was because she was in Obliterated with our friend Alison Gorski, that Netflix series where she's much older now. She's more grown up, and here she's like younger. And I'm like, boy, she looks really familiar, but I can't place it. And that's when I saw that who it was. I was like, oh, that's where she was.
It's like 10 years ago. I couldn't believe this movie came out so long ago.
I know.
Moses Storm as Mitch, Will Peltz as Adam, Renee Olstead as Jess, and Jacob Wasaki as Ken. A group of online chat room friends find themselves haunted by a mysterious supernatural force using the account of their dead friend. I will say, I was surprised at how well this movie held up from a technological standpoint. I'm not saying it looks modern.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're using like Skype and stuff. They're using like some pretty dated apps. But for a movie coming out in 2014, it wasn't as bad as I expected.
Right.
I really thought it was going to be really like, oh my God, like really bad. It wasn't as bad as I expected.
Yeah.
So I will give it credit for that. It doesn't come off as, and I'm very sensitive to that. Being an IT guy, I'm very sensitive to old.
Yeah, this was like stuff. Tim basically extending his work hours to watch these movies.
Oh my God. I already told Brian, I said, I'm going to tell you up front, I don't like either of these movies. I'm just going to tell you up front because, and it's not a judgment on the movies. This is purely a personal, it's not me, it's you type situation because, or it's not you, it's me. That's, I guess I should say, but I have been working from home since March of 2020. So literally over 4 years, I have been working from home. Zoom is my life.
Mm.
Like I am 40 hours a week. I am either on the computer or I am in a Zoom meeting. So when I see movies like this, it's like I'm back at work, and I completely zone out sometimes when I'm watching these, because I'm like, it's like it's like I'm reliving my
Yes.
work day. I don't.
Tim's like, didn't
I'm
I
not
just
interested.
end work? Why am I watching it? Why am
Like
I watching
yeah, like
work now on TV? It's like,
I watch movies to escape. I don't
yeah,
watch movies to feel like I'm back at work again. So I was already predisposed to not like this movie. I'm sorry. I know that's not fair. I tried to keep an open mind, but I swear it was so difficult watching people click around on the screen, because I'm like, I watch that all day long. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't care,
yeah.
kind of thing. So watching people type,
Yeah,
it just
I will say,
drives me
I will
insane.
say, like, actually, the execution of this movie was done well, and to the point of where, it was like different screens and things were going on, and people were silenced when someone else was going on the screen. So, like, that wise, it was good. But but I think the problem is the plot point of like a haunted, mysterious, supernatural force going into this. We've seen that. We've seen haunted computers from since the 80s. I mean, look at Evil Speak was a
Hmm.
computer that could pull up the devil. I mean, so ever since the computer, or as I just kicked my whole desk, and for a while it was the phones. Remember we said like, and like you said though, surprisingly this did held up. I'm surprised too because like a lot of those things with the apps, like the killer app or the data or the
The killer app,
this,
yeah,
those
movies.
things
Yeah,
are
we've seen
eventually,
this.
will they ever become truly dated? At some point, probably yes, because whatever it'll be down the road, it'll be something different. So, and the whole point of it, we've seen this story before. We just haven't seen the story done the way it was. And that's where I think Host was more original in a way because they did a seance and using
Yeah,
the
well,
time.
and host also tapped into
And the
the
time, I was
time
gonna say, and the
of
difference
the
is, yeah,
Zoom time. Yeah,
Host was what used Zoom when Zoom was the hottest thing ever and everyone was trapped in their homes. So, it was like Host came out at the perfect time. This was, you could almost say, was ahead of its time, and I wonder if this would have come out like in 2020, if this would have like hit bigger. I mean, I think it did pretty well when it came out. I know it's pretty popular,
it did.
but
And to be fair, perfectly fair to this movie, like this was one of the first
yeah,
ones, if not the first one, to do it this way, where it was the whole movie took place on
yeah.
a computer screen. I don't remember one before this. If you guys know of one,
Yeah,
let me
no,
know.
yeah, that's why I said the
But
execution was good to this. It's just I think the whole plot point of it being like a haunted friend that was scorned by a bunch of their other friends. We've seen that plot before, and I think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the only little problem I have. And granted, now I'm seeing this at like 10 years after it came out, and I've seen a lot of these ones I'm talking about in between then. So could it be just a victim of that? Yeah, sure. I'm not that, take what I'm taking from with a grain of salt as is coming from where the point I've seen it. But I just think it's, and the cast was pretty good. They had a decent cast to it. It was a cast that like wasn't like overly annoying to the point of where, you were like rooting for them to necessarily
yeah.
get
I actually, I
off.
actually liked, I actually liked the cast of this one better than I
Yeah,
did
I
Dark
did. It's
Web, which we'll
funny, and
get
like we'll
to.
go to the reason why we ranked them the way we did, but like, yeah, the cast in this
Yeah,
one was better. I think. I think Shelley Hennig is amazing, and she was great in Obliterated. She's really good in this. And she's a likable like actress to begin with. I think so. That was part of it. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I think overall, like the cast did really well in this. With what they did, and again, it's hard when you see like when you see a plot that you've seen before just done in a different way, it's sometimes hard, especially in the order you see them. Like, I'm wondering if I would have seen this when it first came out, I would have felt differently about it. I don't know.
yeah. Well, here's the other thing too. Brian and I are not of the generation that would fully
Right.
appreciate this
Yeah.
movie, because we come from a time back in
Yeah.
my day, but as my daughter always picks on me about, but we come from a time
Yeah.
before there was internet, so we saw this come about. We weren't born into that time where
We were
we
just bullied. We
were
were not
like
cyberbullied.
this
We were
was
bullied flat out to your
no,
face.
no, no. We were not. We were just
Like,
bullied,
this would be
like
where the
physically
person would be
bullied.
waiting
But
outside your
you know
house
what?
to, like, follow you home from the bus stop if they wanted to beat the crap out of you, or embarrass you,
But that's why Gen X is so
Yeah.
tough, man. People said stuff to our
Yeah.
face. They didn't say they were online. But you know what I'm saying? Like we weren't born into this where this was our quote unquote norm. I keep using
I don't
quote
know.
unquote tonight, so I gotta stop doing that. I did it in
You're getting
when you
all
guys
quote
hear the
unquote. Yeah.
other episode we recorded last night. Just ignore me every time I
Yeah.
say quote
Yeah,
unquote.
you'll be dead
Do a
by
shot
5
and
minutes
you'll
in.
be
Yeah.
passed out by the end of the episode. But anyway, uh, we're not of the generation that was born into like this. I hate to say addiction, like this addicted quality to the social media online webcam thing. Like I was never like so addicted to that piece of it because I came from a world where that didn't exist. I thought it was neat, but I wasn't like addicted to it. I saw a review of this. They were because in my mind the whole time I'm going, well, just
Yeah.
turn the computer off. Like just walk away from the
Yeah.
computer. Like I don't understand. Why just turn the computer off? And then I saw a reviewer who reviewed it, and they had pointed out something. They were like, well, the point is they can't turn it off
Yeah.
because they're addicted to it. It's like it's such a part of them. And that's the piece I couldn't grasp because I'm not of
Yeah.
that generation. Like that's the piece I just couldn't understand. Like, why don't you just walk away from the computer? Like stop chatting with people, stop calling people. And I think looking about it through that lens, it makes a little more sense. But again, we're not of that generation. I think if you were this generation in 2014, this movie would definitely hit home for you because it addresses a lot of things that are real issues, like with cyberbullying and
Like, I would love to hear, like, if you show, because I know you've been showing, your kids, like, the different horror things. I wonder how they would see this movie because they're even beyond this part. Like they're in a different like level now where everyone's got a cell phone. Also, back in 2014, I don't think everyone still had
yeah,
cell phones to where they do now. Like they had them, but like it was still like I don't think the there was so many ways that there was no Snapchat at that point. There was the Facebook I think was around, right? Yeah,
yeah,
Facebook was definitely around then.
yeah.
Twitter, I
Facebook
don't
was
think
definitely around.
was, if I remember correctly, right? Instagram, I don't think was. TikTok definitely was not. So like all these
Yeah,
places now that are like part
definitely
of
not.
like your daily vernacular when you're talking about social media was not around then. So it's like they had what they showed, the Facebook, the Skype, and like the video chats were like still really cool then. It was neat, so it's
Yeah,
oh,
I
was
think.
it?
Oh, Twitter was
Okay.
around. Twitter was Yeah, Twitter was
Really?
18
It's been
years
around
ago, so it
18
was around.
years?
Yeah, I couldn't
Wow.
believe that either. I
Okay.
just looked it up, but yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why the
Yeah,
young
probably
kids
because
don't use
it's like,
Twitter
oh, that's
anymore.
my
It's too old.
my dad's
Uh,
my dad. That's my dad's thing.
it's funny. Every now and again, I'll ask Anna. I'll be like, okay, what is like? I'll say like, what is this platform for? So I'll say, what is
Uh,
Facebook for? She'll be like, old people. Okay, what is Twitter for?
It's so
Also for
funny because
old people.
Facebook's totally started off as a
Okay, what
college
is
thing, and now it's like old people's.
I know
Yeah.
it is. It literally. I mean, like Anna would not be called dead on Facebook. Oh my god, she'd not be called dead on Twitter or Facebook like that. She's like, that's for old people. I guess Instagram still, even Instagram is getting now to the point where the younger kids think it's kind of not cool
Like
anymore.
like anything, when business started to come into it, and then it's became like an actual tool to use for business, it's no longer fun. Remember, remember,
Yeah,
like it was said really well in the Social Network movie where he goes, yeah, but when you do that, it's not cool anymore. Ads aren't cool. Ads are, I think they said that exact line. And look, like now you can't go onto Facebook without ads. It's like, so it's like, it became the
mm-hmm.
necessary evil even to Facebook. But and it's like there's so many things that like when once like I know like our generation like cool lasted a little bit longer. If something was cool, it would last like maybe a year at least, and like I would think at least, or at least it did for me. Maybe that's
Yeah,
why I wasn't so extra cool or anything. But like now, it's like I feel like cool could be like something's cool one day and the next day it's not anymore. Like it's too fast.
yeah. Well, what's nice and what kids don't, or my kids' age don't understand is that when you get me and Brian's age, you don't care who thinks you're cool or not anymore. It doesn't. You don't give a crap.
Yeah, no, Tim. Yeah, Tim. I'm with you. I don't really care. Like, I'll go out there. Like, I'm the extent of what I care about, as long as I match somewhat. and like I have the same colored socks on. I don't need to be like have the coolest shirt because you know what? I'd literally shorts and a t-shirt or jeans and a t-shirt with a hoodie. I could wear that every day. I don't care if it's
Yeah. Well,
not
I've
cool.
never like even when I was younger in high school, I never had any style whatsoever. So that's never been a
Yeah,
concern of mine
no, a
whatsoever.
and think about it, we grew up in the '80s where, like, the fashion was so bizarre to begin with, like, where you'd have, like, a button-down shirt open with, like, a long sleeve shirt underneath it, or you're like you couldn't and this is funny, one thing I still do to this day, though. Okay, so I guess I take it back a little bit. There's one thing. So, like, I used to remember, like, in back in high school, you get made fun of, with no mercy if your socks were like all the way pulled up so you'd roll them, push them down.
Yeah, I
And to
still do
this
that.
day,
I still
I
do that.
still exactly. I That's how traumatic that was, like
Yeah.
a faux pas was. I still do that. I'll leave them up if I know I'm wearing pants and you can't see it. But if I know I'm wearing shorts, one of the first thing I do is push
Yep.
the socks
I
all the way
do it
down because
too.
I cannot have them straight up because then you look like a camp counselor. Like what the head camp counselor, the one with the clipboard and the bullhorn that comes out. He goes, "Welcome to Catch a Cookie" or whatever.
I got even worse than that because one time like I ended up starting to buy the socks that are like the no see socks or whatever that are like really low cut so you don't even
Oh
have to roll
yeah.
them down because one time this girl told me and not a girl I had any interest in whatsoever, completely unsolicited. I was at a Super Bowl party and I had my socks pushed down like that and she said, I hate that you push your socks down like that. Like,
Just said, "Well, I don't like your face."
oh yeah, it was just like unsolicited. Said I hate when people
Yeah.
push their socks down like that. I'm like, okay, and now
You
I'm
said you
like
got a lot of
scarred.
weird hatred.
I know, I'm like scarred. I gotta wear
Yeah.
like low cut socks now.
Well, yeah, no,
Nothing.
and we also one of the things I don't know if this was just in my school or it was an 80s, but like when you had sweatpants, you'd have to roll them up like a little bit to just under your knee kind of thing. And then the rolled socks down, like that was a thing. And I don't do that anymore. I definitely don't do that. If I'm wearing sweats, they're staying to where they're down. But like I remember that was a thing. Like if you wore sweatpants, you had to like kind of roll them up a little. And it
That's so
was like the
ridiculous.
sweatpants rolled up, socks rolled down. It was a very bizarre time, the 80s,
It
and
was
like
very. I've tried to explain
but
it to my kids, but they
you
just
can't, you
you
can't. You had
can't
to
you
live in
cannot.
it. You can watch it on TV, and you'll still it'll look like foreign to you. There's no way.
Yeah,
If you didn't
no.
grow up in the 80s, yeah, I mean, I know there's people that love the retroness of the 80s now, but they're still looking at it and like it's like another planet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
But
we
that's
would
it's
look
not
at it
even
like,
accurate though. That's not
yeah,
what the 80s like you see those memes where it says the 80s what TV thinks the 80s was like and it's all neon and then what the 80s was really like and everything's brown. That's exactly
yeah,
what it was. Everything was
yeah,
brown. My carpet was brown.
yep.
There was ashtrays that were brown. All the tables were brown. All the furniture was brown.
Yeah, I would
Everything
say
was brown.
there was more weird colors in the '70s in terms of furniture. Like I
Yeah.
remember my mom had when I grew up, my mom had a purple couch. Who has a purple couch these days?
Well, no lie. I'm going to tell you what the house I grew up in. So this house would have been decorated in the 70s. Okay, living room was orange and brown shag carpet
Yeah,
with a black couch. We had a dining room set that was dark wood with red velvet cushions. The
the
kitchen
velvet.
was
Yeah, velvet was a thing. Yeah.
yeah, the kitchen was full yellow. So the kitchen was yellow. Yellow
Yeah.
washing machine, yellow stove. I think the washing machine was in the kitchen. This was a very tiny house. Yellow washing machine, yellow refrigerator. My bedroom was red carpet. My brother's bedroom was blue carpet, and my parents' bedroom was green carpet, and the
Yeah, it was like
bathroom was yellow.
you had all the color schemes of things.
It
Well, you
was
remember you saw
crazy.
us at you were one of the few people that got to come to that East Meadow house when Julie and I lived there,
Yeah,
and my grandmother's old house. Remember, she had like a carpeted stairs that were like weird colors. Remember, and the bathroom was like pink and green, and that was a
yeah.
match back then. So it's bizarre. Yeah, I and like yeah, and it's like and like the '70s are even weirder. Like remember the '70s were big things. Like if you went to like someone that had like a really fancy house, they'd have the sunken living room
Yeah.
would go down, which was
Yeah.
like a thing. And I'm like, why is that a thing? That looks like a hazard to me. Like I would
Yeah.
probably fall on my face every time I tried to enter
Oh
that
man.
living room. Or remember the ceilings? Like my friend Mark had this on the ceiling that like where it was like it looked like someone like threw mashed potatoes up there and then it like dripped a little and then froze. So it was like those like Like it was like a
Yeah.
sculptor, and like I remember, like all I can remember was jumping up one day, like during a baseball game, being excited and like cutting the tops of my hands because the ceiling was low enough, and I was short, but it was low enough, and it had those points that I would hit. So yeah, it is a weird time. So
Very
70s,
weird times.
like was definitely more colorful than the 80s in terms of decor that you see. But
Yeah. It was
yeah,
crazy. But
now that we've
anyway,
gone to a time lesson, let's get back, which
I,
we hardly discussed in the movie here, but
yeah.
basically, yeah, the movie, the because I think the plot is very simple
It's
and,
almost like I know
it's
what you
very
did last summer,
predictable.
right? It's kind of like I know what you did last
Yeah,
summer in an online form where you got to. You know what? I was kind of disappointed. I didn't. I was actually kind of disappointed that there was a supernatural element to it. I was actually expecting it not to be a supernatural element, and I thought that would have been better for some reason.
yeah, that
Because
is
I didn't
exactly my
buy.
point.
I
Yeah,
didn't buy the supernatural element of like because again, it might be another it's not you, it's me thing, but I'm an IT guy. So I automatically get red flags whenever I see any kind of technology being used in a way that I deem unrealistic.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's just a
No, no,
movie. I know, but
I'm with you too, and I'm not even in IT. I feel the same
yeah,
way, and that's why when we get to talk about the second one, why like I think the second one, even though it like had the less interesting characters in some of them, some characters were good in it, but like I feel like at least the second one had more realism to it than this one
exactly.
because
Yeah.
the second one actually you hear the story still happening of what happens in that movie, and it's like
Yeah,
so. I mean, I
the
guess
the whole ghost
yeah,
thing at the first one just I didn't buy it, and I
yeah,
kept expecting some payoff where we go, oh, that's the killer. He was the one doing it all the
it's not
time,
really a
and
ghost,
it
it's the
never happens.
brother.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it never
I mean,
happened that way.
granted, yeah, it is a horror movie, like we said, but like I think when you guys, when you're so like, Tim's very computer savvy, obviously being in IT, and I've been computers all, yeah, it gets to the point of where, like, and I don't know why it's like any other paranormal movie, but I think I can feel like there's like, I think I can more believability of a paranormal experience just normally than I do having it come through my computer.
Well,
Does that make sense? It's like,
it just seems ridiculous. Like I can buy a haunted house story where the ghost like knocks a ball down the stairs. It's harder for me to buy the fact that the ghost is sitting on a computer somewhere, instant messaging people and connecting to Skype.
yeah.
Like, really? Like, I don't know. That just that's just.
Well, yeah, and I
I
feel like
could
why that moment? Because it
I
feels
could
like they've been chatting for a while. I mean, was it I can't remember, and this could be my fault. Was it like the anniversary of when her death was while they were all
I
on the
think
computer or
so.
anything?
Yeah, I might have been.
Okay, so and that's another overused plot, like in horror movies, honestly. With the anniversary of the death. Why? You're angry already. Why did you wait a year? Just get
I
him
don't know.
now.
I just find it
It's
hard to
like,
suspend disbelief that the ghost can somehow knows how to manipulate Skype.
yeah, I
Really?
mean,
Like, I don't know. And I know it's a
considering like a live person has enough trouble with Skype, like why would the ghost like be able to do it?
like, can
It's like,
you imagine like the ghost trying to manipulate? Like that's why host worked because the ghost wasn't trying to manipulate the
yeah.
Zoom session. It
They
wasn't
were
like it
going
was
after the
calling in.
people.
It wasn't like it
Yeah.
was calling in. Can you imagine
Yeah.
the ghost be like, "Can you hear? Can you hear me
Yeah.
now? Can you
Yeah.
hear?
Can you
Can you guys hear me now?"
your camera's on. You're mute. You're on mute.
Okay. Oh wait,
Yeah.
hang on. Hang on. The ghost like, sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. Ooh, can
I
you
know.
hear me?
Well, and
Ooh.
yeah, and see that was the thing. Did the differences in Host 2, they used the computer as the vessel for them to be connected to do this seance. So it made sense that it was at everyone's house, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
So it kind of
exactly.
made sense. Like they brought it in. It didn't just like wasn't like hiding in the computer and like ready to like message them. I think that that's where like where where people say, oh, it's just a ripoff of Unfriended. Unfriended did it first. I said no. Unfriended, what they did is they made the whole movie on a computer screen first, but the plot points are extremely different if you look at the element of it. And I still think I will say to this day one of the best things Host did that like is that it literally the movie lasted as long as the Zoom session did. Like, when the Zoom session would have ended, the movie kind of ended. And I think
Yeah, no, that was brilliant.
that part is
So
brilliant.
I don't
So
know. There was a lot of things I was against this movie from the start. I will, like you said at the beginning, I will say I appreciate the difficulty of doing a movie entirely in a computer screen because you can't film a computer screen. The
yeah,
monitor refresh rate will flicker. Like they don't
yeah,
match. You can't film a computer screen. Every computer screen you see in every movie is an animation that they created.
yeah.
And so you have to reproduce all this stuff, which can't be easy. I can't imagine that's an easy thing to pull off, especially for an entire almost 90-minute movie. So hats off to them. I don't have any problem with the actual technical implementation of how they did this movie and the
because I think they did that part really well.
I thought they did an excellent job with it. I thought it was believable, and even to me, like as an IT guy, just the clicking around and stuff did not look super fake to me. Like it looked, reasonably realistic. A lot of times they will shortcut, like you'll see people put in like the Google search and then it will come up and it'll just be like the page will instantly open. They won't even get a list of search results, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of shortcuts you can take, but I thought they did a pretty good job of making this at least feel somewhat realistic.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, and moving on, like, I guess we can kind of move on to the second one in that, because they're kind of, I mean, they're the same.
Yeah, we could talk
here.
Yeah.
I think they did it even better in the second one, because it's funny because they definitely used an Apple computer in that for second one, and the way he was moving it around, and like there's one part where they're counting down and he has to click on it right before it. Like I think that part was done really well, and the way he manipulated that computer and was going through the laptop thing.
Yeah,
I think that was even they upped the game on that. Even they made it careful, and of course, I mean, I guess we might as well just get into that one now.
Yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and get into Unfriended Dark Web, which I think was a great title.
I did too.
This one came out 4 years later in 2018, directed by Steven Susko, starring Colin Woodall as Matthias, maybe Stephanie Nogueras as Amaya, Betty Gabriel as Nari, Rebecca Rittenhouse as Serena, Andrew Lees as Damon, Connor Del Rio as AJ, Severa Wendiano as Lex, Douglas Tate as Sharon 4.
I don't know why they're both listed as Sharon 4, but that was on IMDb. But
yeah, Brian Adrian as Sharon 4, Chelsea Alden as Kelly, and Alexa Mansour as Erica Dunn.
For some reason, she's popping up in all my movies lately. This Alexa Mansour. I don't know who she is, but she's in every one thing I've watched the past couple of weeks. I feel like.
The synopsis here is: a teen comes into possession of a new laptop and soon discovers that the previous owner is not only watching him, but will also do anything to get it back. I immediately liked the premise of this one more. Again, like I said, I like the cast in the first movie more, honestly.
Yeah.
But I did like the premise of this one more because this one felt more like you said, something that could maybe realistically happen.
It's
maybe not to this extent, but
yeah, maybe it's a little. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously you need to up the things to make it really interesting. And all that doesn't happen so quickly as it does in this movie per se. But I've always been fascinated by the element. Like I would never want to go into it, but like I know the dark web exists. I know there's people that can get in there. And for some reason, I don't know why, but something I loved, that cool thing where he says, "Meet me in the river," and they're in that like old like 8 or less than 8-bit little room where it's like, and he's just floating underwater. Something about that just was cool to me. And so I think, and obviously like the whole like kidnap, like what's the word, like human trafficking thing, that's a real thing, and obviously it's still happening to today. The days you still go, like when I was in Vegas, how many signs I saw like beware of human trafficking, because they try and prey on the vulnerable, and what's more vulnerable than people in anonymous people in chat rooms. You can really like catfish them to the crazy levels. So I think right off the bat, like I was like, okay, this is at least way more believable than a ghost jumping in, kind of a thing.
One reason this is so nitpicky, but the main guy in this uses that thing that I can't stand. To me, it's an actor's crutch, and it bothers me every time I see it in a movie. There's a frog outside my window.
Oh no, and you're afraid of frogs.
I don't like frogs, and there's like
we just went over this.
There's this creepy frog like looking at me through the window, and that's not okay. I don't like that. Anyway, but he does that weird actor's crutch thing where I hope he never listens to this because I don't. I'm not an actor, so I feel bad disparaging actors, but I hate when actors, when they're showing stress or showing nervousness, they do that thing where they're like, where they stutter and they keep repeating words. It's like, Mary, you've got to get out of there. Like, I can't stand it. Like, I'm just like, just stop. Like, and he does that a lot in this movie.
One thing if the character actually has a stutter in
yeah, I'm not talking about a legitimate. Yeah. I'm not talking people have a legitimate stutter. I have no problem with people having a legitimate stutter. But there's this to me, it's an acting crutch. When
horror movies notice it more, I think too. You notice it a
I
lot
see it a lot.
more.
I think it's the reason it bothers me, because I see it a lot in horror movies.
Yeah.
Is why when you're trying to convey stress, you do this stutter thing, and to me, it's not realistic. It just seems like a crutch. But little nit,
No, I know
it's
what you
just
mean. Yeah.
it's a nitpick. It's a nitpick.
I mean, it doesn't bother. I mean, it doesn't bother me as much probably as you, but like, because I think but like I do notice it. It happens way more in horror movies because I think that you're obviously the plot points are always filled with tension in horror movies.
Yeah, and
so
it's like this. Oh my god. Like I don't
But
know. I mean, thankfully I've never been in a lot of situations where I was under that amount of stress, but I never remember. I mean, where's this coming from? Where's the stuttering coming? Like I've never done that in real life. I don't understand why that's a
we
thing.
need to ask one of our like it's obviously we know Emily, she's in a lot, but we got to ask her if directors ever tell them to do that. Like, does the director ever tell you to say
to
that?
like do that? Like
ask.
I don't know. Like it bothers me.
Yeah.
And again,
It's bothering Tim. Can you pass that on to all the directors you work with?
perfectly clear. I am not at all disparaging anybody with an actual stutter at all.
No, that's not what you're not.
Anyway.
No, you prefaced it perfectly. You said that, like, you hate when people like add this for no reason.
It's an affect is what I'm talking about.
I will say one thing. What I liked, and it was a nice touch, was that they made they literally made the only way this guy could basically portray like. No, actually, that's the right word, because I was talking about the stutter to portray. The only way he could convey his thoughts to his girlfriend was to actually type, because he didn't. They set up the story that he didn't know sign language much, and he was working on the sign language.
And she was deaf, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they actually kind of put a lot of cool elements to the story in there, in a story that really could have, like, we've seen movies do it where they don't add that, and that was a cool element, I thought, because he's working on. You obviously know he's got some kind of computer savvy, because he's literally working on this program that could translate sign language while he types. So I'm sure there's a million programs that have this, but like, I don't know if they were. I'm sure they were there in 2018 also, but I just like that they made it part of the thing. So it's not like he could just call her on the phone and say, "Hey, get out of there." You basically took that away. You took, obviously with horror movies, and cell phones, that's always been a problem. And so they need to find ways to remove the technology that has now encompassed our daily lives. And so the fact that they made his character, her character, deaf, and she could not hear what he said. He had to use the computer. So like literally when she was away, and like he couldn't just call her.
Yeah,
even he couldn't even yell her name. He couldn't even yell, say, "Hey, turn around." He couldn't do that. So it's like that does raise the stakes a little bit, kind of organically, by putting that plot point in there. But not making it so like just out of the blue, like, kind of a thing. So Tim, I see that frog. He's looking at you, isn't he, Tim?
The frog's no. What scared me is the frog is now gone.
Oh,
that's even scarier, because
so I shouldn't tell you that he's sitting on the top of your chair.
The frog was there, and now the frog's gone, and I'm like terrified. These like
he probably went to go tell all his other frog friends that you disparaged him, and now he's like, "Hey, we got an easy target. Let's get the whole gang here."
I would rather know where the frog is than to not know where the frog is. Yeah, that's not good. But anyway, I'm the same. I don't know. Again, I found myself kind of zoning out on this one because it was very work. It felt very much like work.
Yeah.
And
well, especially in this was way more, because now you got like a guy who's like got a brand new computer and he's trying to delete old files and add new ones. It's probably like half your day.
I read some reviewer. I know it really is. I read some reviewer though. He kind of summed it up perfectly. He said it's like standing behind somebody watching them as they're typing on a computer. Like that's how much fun it is. And that's, to me, that was kind of like that. I'm like, I like the premise of a movie taking place in this one online setting. I think it's creative, and I think it's interesting that they pulled it off. But as a viewer watching it, it doesn't interest me. And again, it partly might be because I do this all day long for work, but it doesn't interest me. I don't know that it would interest me even if I wasn't in IT. I don't know. I don't know what the fun is of just watching people working on a computer is.
You know what I think I liked about this one a little more, and it kind of added to it. I think it like just it seemed like they were all high school friends in the first one that could literally just go down the street to see each other. This one, it felt
Yeah.
like they were all around, and it made more sense why they were all on the computer. Now, granted, it did take away, like we said, it's because they were addicted to the technology. They were addicted to that one in the first one, so that's part of the whole plot point. But in this one, you feel like, okay, one guy's obviously in, like, I think he's in like another, like, was he? Well, I mean, maybe he was just British, and I was just assuming he wasn't there, but it seemed like they were nowhere near each other.
Yeah.
Although, except the couple, with the one girl went and left to go find. I guess they're in the same town for sure, but probably not. Still, like think she had to take like a train or something, right? So she wasn't exactly close. Like they weren't like down the street. They were in the same neighborhood. Like it seemed like all the first, like in the first one was.
Well, I think also the fact, again, this is a generational thing. I think the fact they were a little older,
Right, I was just gonna say, and they're
made
older,
me a
yeah.
little more sympathetic to them. Like the high school kids, I'm like, just get over it, just stop. I mean,
Yeah.
just it was, and I don't want to diminish the real issues there are with cyberbullying.
Yeah.
And so that I know
No,
that's
it's terrible.
I'm not.
I don't think I would have. I honestly, I don't know where, like, if I could have like came out completely mentally unscathed. I mean, high school, there was enough bullying and that goes on
Oh
in there
yeah,
that like that's just traumatic enough. But I don't know if I could, like, literally, at least you could get home sometimes and avoid it. But now with cyberbullying, you have no safe haven.
yeah. I'm not trying to diminish that piece of it
Yeah.
whatsoever. I'm saying from a movie standpoint,
Yeah.
for these particular characters in this particular situation, like as a viewer, knowing this is all fictional, I'm kind of like, just turn your computer off and just stop being
Yeah.
dramatic, kind of thing. Whereas in this movie, I think I felt a little bit more, again, I hate to say sympathetic. I don't know if I was sympathetic, but maybe a little more understanding of the situation they were in. Kind of. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's kind of hard to explain, but
Well, no,
maybe
I
I had
think
a
they were
more
real,
relation.
and there were also real stakes in this one. You know, the other one was like supernatural stakes, which always can be put into
Which
question.
you're already not believing, so it's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, but this, like, this could happen. Like, especially like, the guy, and I like how they revealed too, like more and more how, like, you're like, well, this guy, what does this guy do wrong, really? What did he do wrong? He bought a computer off of Craigslist and some guy like sold it and it was probably stolen. But then you realize, no, he like you realize throughout the movie, no, he was in his lost and found and he just took it after being there for a while. Now, granted, I don't understand why, like, with what this computer had on it, how that could even like stay for 1 minute in a
Yeah.
lost and found when you have billions of dollars of
Yeah.
human trafficking on the computer, and all of a sudden the guy realizes now it's missing like a week later. Like, that's the one part where it's like, okay, come on, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
This thing, he said it was sitting in there and he's watched it in there for 3 weeks in that cyber area. You're telling me this guy who literally his whole thing is human trafficking on the computer would have left his computer in a cyber cafe and not known where it was 3 weeks later? Like,
With
that's the
millions
one
of
part to
dollars
me.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
was like,
okay, wait a minute. All right, there's
I
the
must have
plot
missed
point
something
which I
there because
just
I was
can't
the same
forgive.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, did we miss
And please
something?
tell us if we missed something, if Tim and I missed something. I don't
Yeah.
think we did. I just think that was a plot point that people hoped you wouldn't spot. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know.
That's my
Anyway,
thing. But
how do I didn't really enjoy these two movies. They weren't
I don't think they were
terrible.
anything special. They just weren't anything special.
Yeah, they weren't. They're not unwatchable by any means.
No,
But
no.
I didn't find them all that. I just didn't find them all that interesting. And the first one, I thought the paranormal stuff actually was to its detriment instead of its
Exactly. I
benefit.
said the same thing. Yeah, it's like
Whereas I think the dark web made for a more compelling story just because it felt a little bit more realistic, aside from the plot holes. But
yeah.
I wish the first cast had been in the second plot.
I know that's what we need. We need a fantasy matchup. We need them to redo the second one with the cast in the first one.
It would have been so much more interesting. Like, I really did like the cast of the first one. I thought they were believable as these high school friends. I thought they were interesting.
Yeah.
And I just didn't find them as interesting in the second one. But
Plus, I'll watch anything with Shelley Hennig in it now. She's so good. She's so good.
I thought the plot was much better in the second one. So my perfect combination of these two movies would be the cast from the first one inside of the second one. But
Tim will fantasy cast it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It wouldn't be shocking if at some point down the road we'll have software with the AI software. It can just totally remake that second movie with that cast. In it,
so our rankings, again, very simple. We both ranked Dark Web above the original in this case.
Which is
Again,
rare. I mean, that's a rarity on some, well, at least for me, that
but
the original doesn't take over. But I think we explained why pretty
yeah,
well.
we explained why, and honestly, I don't really care. I don't really care enough about either of these movies to care what the ranking
Yeah,
was. Like, to me,
yeah.
they're essentially tied. I think I rated them on Letterboxd the exact same. I think I rated
Yeah.
both of them 2.5 stars.
Yeah,
So
I just like I said, I just like the element of the more the like the that it, like I feel like that really could happen in the first one. I mean, what happens in the second one more than the first one, and like I don't know why, for some reason I just like that little river sequence. It just seemed cool. I don't know, reminded me
yeah,
like that little board on Dragon's Lair, when
I did like
getting
that little part.
the
Yeah,
little barrel going in the water. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool. He's like, meet me at the river, and then it's like some cool dark web like room. Because it's something I would never have the skills nor the actual desire or the technical know-how how to ever get into those things. So I got like the best of everything. I got to watch it like happen on a
yeah,
screen
yeah.
because there's no way I don't want to go into a dark web. I'm sure like half of our like data is all farmed in there somewhere as it is. And it's weird that it's always fascinated me the dark web thing because it's like how is it made that like why don't they just make real like sites with that kind of security on it so we stop needing like the dark web wouldn't exist then.
Yeah,
Why don't
it's
they just apply the same things that like you can so that could hide off the grid in a dark web with regular sites so you don't have to worry that someone's ripping off your bank account.
yeah. I don't
But
know. The dark web stuff fascinates me too. I love anything like podcasts and stuff that go into dark web stuff, and like there's all kinds
yeah,
of
it's like
YouTube
it's
videos about people I visited the dark web and you'll never believe what I
I
found,
know, like
kind of
like
thing.
I for all we know, we've got accidentally got there. I don't know what who knows where Reddit takes you half the time with these things. It's like
Oh, we're
but
showing
yeah,
our
uh,
age, our computer
definitely, yeah.
index.
But I mean, yeah, overall, it's funny how we rank both these little mini franchises the same, but they were kind of fun to do. Like, and it's not like I wouldn't like if I was surfing, through cable at one point and like Unfriended came on and there's really nothing else on, I wouldn't not watch it out of
But
spite
they're
or
not
anything.
bad movies. They're just
No, they weren't
special.
they weren't
Yeah,
not enjoyable.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
do want to make sure that's what perfectly clear. I didn't like that
And
it
they're
was
both
not
under
like
90
unenjoyable to
minutes.
watch it. Yeah,
I think they
yeah.
were
I
like an
mean,
hour 17, hour
yeah.
15. They were not long. So
And it's
yeah,
funny because I mean, like these are both Unfriended were Blumhouse, right?
I
I
have no
believe, right?
idea. I didn't even
I'm
look.
pretty sure they were Blumhouse, but if not, Blumhouse, and don't get me wrong, I have the utmost respect for Blumhouse because they revolutionized horror with a production company when horror was needing that. But now there's this almost thing where like these I feel like the Blumhouse movies are like you can almost like tell a Blumhouse movie or like think it could be a Blumhouse movie because of its plot. And that's always a kind of a weird thing when that kind of happens. Like the perfect example, but this is a benefit, you said, oh, this is totally like a Nick Cage movie. Like
Yeah,
this is Nick Cage in a Nick Cage movie. When you have something like that, it's like a positive. But I think with the Blumhouse stuff now, it's becoming to the point of where, and like I said, I will always have the utmost respect for Blumhouse, but I feel like the plots of them are very like what did you say today? It was a movie, and I don't even think it's a Blumhouse Tarot. I don't even think that's a Blumhouse movie. It's Sony. I looked
yeah.
at, but yet
But
you
it
guys
feels very
assumed it was
Blumhousey.
Blumhouse,
Yeah,
right? So when you're using that term Blumhousey, what like there's a reason for that because you're
I
getting a
think
lot of
it's
like stylistic repetition or something,
well. It's also. I think it's
and the
also.
PG-13 element, I think, right?
I think it's the market. I think it's the
Yeah.
demographic that they're aiming for. Because to be honest, wouldn't you know if a movie feels like an A24 movie?
Oh my God, yes. That's why I'm saying that's why I was trying to kind of say like, well, it's not like it's not necessarily it's not a bad thing. It's just like it
It's
could
just
go
something
either
you
way.
notice. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a notice, and it's not always like 100% positive. It's not negative necessarily but I remember whenever I used to see that Blumhouse logo and be like, "Oh, I'm in." And now I'm like, it's Blumhouse. I kind of know what I'm getting out of it, and
I will
it's
have to say, I mean, when Blumhouse first started out, like they were basically could do no wrong. And I think
right, because they
I
gave
do,
us what we didn't have. A production company that pushed horror so much, you know?
Yeah,
We hadn't
I
had
mean,
that in a while.
I think they've had enough misses now that it's like, I could see it going either way.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
I
automatically assume it's great.
right. They need to like, and obviously what they ended up doing with with the where they started off strong with the Halloween franchise and then look what happened, and it's
Yeah.
like and then it
Whereas I
ended.
will say A24 and Neon now with Long Legs
Oh, Neon is
are
is the
two
new one.
studios that I still don't think have jumped the shark to the point where they've had enough misses where I'm going, oh, it's A24. This could be good or it could be bad. If I see A24 or Neon on a movie, I'm going to go, this is probably really good.
Yeah, like and yeah, and it's proven and Neon is like I think like I want to say like Neon is like the new Blumhouse where A24 is like something on its own a little bit where like Neon is now taking these movies and pushing movies that may not have necessarily got the audience, but now since Neon's taking a chance on them and putting them out there, audience is getting to see it. And and whereas A24 is like they don't just do horror, they just do all kinds of movies,
Yeah,
so they're
they
a
do.
little bit different. They're kind of like that Magnolia Pictures when that was coming out, when it was
Yeah.
releasing those little things. So I think yeah, like but like you're right. Like if I see A24 or if I see Neon, like my it's that like bing, it's like that like automatic like wait, I'm gonna at least give this a check. And that's what I used to do with Blumhouse now. And I feel bad because now I'm like, when I see the Blumhouse, I'm like, I kind of go in there knowing what to expect. Like I know you're gonna get what the audience they're trying for now. And I think that like maybe even unfairly, I prejudge the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way.
So,
I'm the same way. But
so
what
it's
I still, I think Brian would agree. I'd rather live in a world with Blumhouse than not, for
oh my
sure.
God,
Yeah.
100% because they're still giving you tons of horror content.
Yeah. So
And they'll and it's like yes, and there's also it could be it could just take one big Blumhouse hit to spin it back around again to where
it's sort of like Disney with the Star Wars stuff. It's like there's some Star Wars stuff that's better than others. Some of it may be a little bit of a miss, but at the same time, it's more Star Wars, so I'm
yeah,
not
like
complaining. Like I don't
exactly,
care.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like yeah, I mean you're still giving you something you want, whether it's not like maybe it's not cooked perfectly like you like it, but and it's better than eating Chef Boyardee out of a can,
Well, especially
it's
with me
like
and Brian. I mean, we lived in the age where we had to wait like decades between movies.
yeah. And like
Like we
now we're getting now in between the movies we're getting all these great shows, and
Yeah,
stuff.
so
So
like I will never be a Star Wars fan that complains about Star Wars content. Like
no,
because
it's yeah,
I grew up after Return of the Jedi knowing we may never see another
yeah.
movie.
I
Period.
remember this was kind of funny. So the quick story. So I was remember I was going on this first date with this girl back in college when I think I had to run to the mall for something. And I ran in, and as I was passing, I saw the bookstore when that Timothy Zahn Heir
Oh,
to the
love that.
Empire book,
Love that
and I
book.
saw that. I'm like, oh, I said, this is a new Star Wars thing. Wait a minute. I said, wait, we haven't had a new Star Wars thing in forever. And then when I looked in there, and I kind of quickly opened the thing, and I saw that it was like, Han Solo, Prince Leia, and Luke. It was more like after Return of the Jedi. I'm like, oh my god! And I bought that right away to the point of where like all the nerves of the first date were like gone. And and I mean it wasn't like it was a blind date. I knew
Yeah.
the girl. And so but it was interesting. So I was like, "Oh my god." And I remember I was like so I had this like nice buzz of like natural excitement on this for the first date and the new Star Wars content in the same
That's
night.
a good night.
So yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is a
Oh
good
man, I
night for me."
loved that trilogy. Oh, I loved
Yeah,
it.
I mean
I
it
should reread it at some point. I
yeah, I know, I
loved
still
it.
have all 3 of them, and it's like I still remember, like, how cool it was. I remember I thought it was odd that they drank, like, coffee in it, but, granted, that's the first real true, like I mean, yes, they had those couple of novels, like, the back in the day that was interspersed through the other
Yeah.
movies, but, like, back then I wasn't, like, there was no really expanded universe wasn't a thing, you just kinda saw it was, like, another cool little Star Wars story kinda thing. Like,
Yeah.
I remember the Han Solo novels that they had, basically, and then
Yeah.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was supposed to be, was going to be Empire Strikes Back if they didn't actually get that cleared kinda thing, it was gonna be a TV movie, so it's like I mean, obviously, we can go on Star Wars forever here, but, the whole point was, yeah, it was a good analogy, though, to make because it's like we're never gonna stop wanting Star Wars to come out. We just
Yeah.
kind of hope that it's cooked perfectly each time,
Yeah.
which it's hard to do, but
All right, guys. So we have our next episode is going to be our actual 300th episode.
yes.
And
Which
what's
I've not
funny,
promoted in any way, shape, or form. I probably
no,
should start doing that.
what's funny about our 300th episode, it's technically our
Gotta be.
300th numbered episode. We've
Yeah.
actually produced probably over 400 actual pieces of content.
Yeah.
So we've got
And we've
dismemberment.
manipulated those numbers a little bit too, because there's some we just this will make it a mini-sode, and we'll make this a numbered.
Yeah,
So
so
it's like
it's completely arbitrary, but it's a milestone, so we're going to go
Yes.
for it. So that'll be we will interrupt our Slaycation briefly for the 300th episode, and then we'll be back for episode 301 with another mini found footage franchise,
which
2
worked out
movies.
nice. So it's
Yeah,
funny how it like sometimes things like Tim and I just like with our little mix-ups and scheduling things just kind of fall into a big pile of shit in a good way, It's like they
yeah.
say that like they just fall, but like it's like it just worked out perfectly.
Well, don't they
because
say
like
we've covered enough indie horror movies that don't they say that sometimes the pitfalls and the disasters are what breed the creativity
yeah,
to make you
it
come out with
is,
something
yeah.
new. So this actually I think was even better than what we had planned before.
Yeah, because we were gonna literally the Rec franchise, gonna broken up to where you'd watch the first 2 episodes. You hear the first 2, then the 300th, and then this. Now it's like you've heard this, we're done. Now you get the 300th episode, and boom, and then after the 300th, you'll get back to the Slaycation and back onto the thing. And you know what I want to do really? I want to do a lot of like, and I may do these as like mini-sodes, like, just as like little, we can, do these together or separate just to have some little things, like interspersed through the Halloween season. Like I want to kind of do like stuff on haunts, like even if it's just a little like, hey, I found out this haunt today. I wanted to tell everyone about it. Like little, even though they're 5-10 minute episodes, just
Yeah,
throwing
that'd be
out
cool.
there, because it's cool. Because I was just looking and like some of the cool, like I'm like already exciting. Like I'm already planning on. There's like I want to do that Winchester one again. I want to try and hit Halloween Horror Nights and Universal for the Hollywood one.
I told Anna she's to help me get our TikTok back in shape.
Yeah, you kind of need that.
We can just throw like some short 5 or 10 minute videos up or whatever of different things. There's like books I've read, horror books that I've read that I'm like, it'd be nice to just be able to say, hey guys, take 5 minutes and say, hey, I want to tell you about this new Stephen King book I read, blah, 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 which I don't have enough content for full episode. And sometimes with the Summer Slaycation, we don't have time to talk about it in our first chop, but we could at least get it out there as content.
Yeah, and like like literally, I realized it's like I never talked about any of those trips I wanted to talk about that I did like back in April and March and stuff, and they've never been done. And it's like, and now it just seems silly to even recap them now. I mean, like I just on my Vegas trip, I didn't really like mention much on that, and it's like it's kind of weird. Maybe I'll just do these in we'll do these in like and then once Anna teaches you, you got to teach me so I can actually make.
We need another
TikTok
outlet for like quick stuff. Like even
I mean, Instagram Reels are what people are using, what the cool kids are using today too, as much as TikTok is, and so
maybe
I guess we
can
can
something like that.
Yeah, we got to do something. I mean, we have It's so funny. We're here sitting there like you're in IT. I have pretty good computer knowledge, yet we can't figure out like how to like the best way to make like a little video segment.
Well, the thing is, we could figure it out. We just don't. We haven't.
Yeah, that's true.
Been motivated to do it.
Yeah, we haven't been motivated enough. Yeah, that's really what it is.
I'm not concerned about technically being able to figure it out. I'm more concerned about motivation. But if we could find something like that, whether it be the Instagram Reels or TikTok or whatever, to just do short videos when we have a chance to talk about something, I think it'd be great.
Yeah,
I think it would definitely increase exposure to the podcast.
I agree.
All right, guys. So we will see you back here next week for our 300th episode. Thank you guys so much for listening and getting us to 300 episodes. We could have given up on this a long time ago.
We said many a time, our plan was 100 episodes and out. And now
100 episodes and out. We've more than quadrupled that at this point. Yeah. So, again, thank you guys. And we also hit 5,000 Twitter followers, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for that contest.
Yeah, we had a great contest.
If you're listening to now, the winners have been announced like last week, but still, that was our best contest to date. I think I think we've had more entries, and no, actually, this might be the most entries too. Most entries for sure, but definitely the most engagement.
Definitely most engagement. We got tons of new followers. We got enough followers to push us over 5,000.
Yeah, it was like over 120 followers just in like 24 hours from that.
That was amazing. So, yeah. So again, thank you guys for that as well.
But, and now just imagine if we had Tim like dulcet tones announce the contest. That would have been like tripled that.
Well, once
next time, Tim, you'll just have to come on and say, "Yeah, you'll just come on. Hi, this is Tim. I'm going to tell you about the new contest. Enter and like."
Quiet place. Well, I'll do the ASMR version.
Oh yeah, that's it. I like it.
All right, guys, we will see you back here next week. Take care.
Yeah.